If you're looking for a mainstream compact car, Nissan has been playing in this segment for over 40 years with the Sentra. This is a vehicle that goes head-to-head with stalwart rivals like the Honda Civic and Toyota Corolla. And back in late 2019, we saw Nissan introduce an all-new 8th generation Sentra, introducing one of the sleekest designs in this segment and also giving us an interior that feels a lot more premium and high-tech versus most of its rivals. Now for 2024, it's time for Nissan to give the Sentra its first round of updates in the form of an exterior refresh. It has a new Xtronic CVT transmission, and it has new wheel designs across most of the trim line. So as you can see this week, we are essentially testing out the Halo trim of the Sentra. This is a 2024 Sentra SR painted in this beautiful shade of monarch orange with the two-tone black roof. And the big question I want answered, has Nissan managed to make enough changes to the Sentra to keep this model competitive? Stay tuned to find out. So before we start talking about the slight exterior design changes that Nissan made, I thought I'd pop the hood and show you guys what's powering this thing. Now this is an area where I criticized Nissan when this car first came out because they don't offer a turbo or a hybrid option. Sadly, that is still the case for 2024, but if you're a price conscientious buyer, this powertrain here should fit the bill for most of your needs. Now underneath the hood, you're gonna find a 2-liter naturally aspirated 4-cylinder with gasoline direct injection. The powertrain is basically unchanged, or at least the engine is. It still makes 149 horsepower and 146 pound-feet of torque. It has double overhead cams and variable valve timing. It is very much a conventional naturally aspirated engine. Again, there's still no turbo available. There's no hybrid option available. I was hoping that Nissan would put the new 1.5-liter turbo 3-cylinder from the Rogue under the hood. There are rumors that it could show up for 2025, but again, there is no electrified option if you guys are also looking for a hybrid. Now, thankfully, the company did replace the transmission. It's now the latest version of their Xtronic CVT, so the old one also had a CVT. This is, of course, now the latest rendition. It helps to improve the fuel efficiency and acceleration. That's what Nissan claims. Fuel economy for this model here is rated at 30 in the city and 38 on the highway. If you guys step down to the SV or the S trim, you'll actually get 30 and 40 mpg on the highway. So those are impressive numbers considering the fact that this car is not a hybrid. The vehicle now includes a start-stop technology with that new transmission. So again, that also helps to improve the fuel efficiency. This car has a 12.5-gallon fuel tank. You'll do around 400 miles of range on a full tank. That's on regular grade gas. Nissan doesn't quote a 0 to 60 time. Most of the magazine publications say in the 8.5 to 9-second range for the old model. We'll test it out when we get this vehicle out on the road. As this vehicle sits, it weighs in at just over 3,000 pounds. So this definitely is on the light end of the segment. All Sentras are only front-wheel drive. The company sadly does not offer all-wheel drive like you can get on some of its rivals. But closing the hood, I have to say the hood is definitely heavy, and as you guys saw, it's also supported by a prop rod. The exterior design of the Sentra, when this car first came out, I really loved the look. It looked a lot more sporty, a lot more upscale. It really was just kind of giving off a baby Altima vibes. In fact, I actually think this car looks better than the Altima. So for 2024, you can see Nissan has given the styling a slight tweak. You can see this color for an extra $645 is called Monarch Orange. It includes the two-tone black roof and black painted side mirrors. It definitely is a handsome color. It really shows off the lines of this vehicle nicely. You can see this SR trim also includes LED headlights. So you have a reflector style LED low and high beam. You have an LED daytime running light, but you can see the turn signals are incandescent, which is kind of a downgrade. The pre-refreshed car had LED turn signals as well, and Nissan, as you can see, has removed the LED fog lights. Instead, you've kind of gotten a cleaned up look for the front fascia. The grille is slightly wider and larger. You can see the SR trim includes this new SR badge that we first saw on the refreshed Altima and Versa. You can see you have kind of like the dark chrome look with the black painted elements here in the front fascia. And overall, I think the front end still looks good, but I think I actually might prefer the pre-refresh model. I'm really sad that Nissan took away the fog lights and the LED turn signals that you got in the previous pre-refresh model. Now, if you guys want LED headlights, you have to go for this trim. The base S and SV only comes with halogen headlights, so that is a downgrade compared to some rivals, which come standard with full LED headlights. Moving around the side profile, you can see Nissan only offers the Sentra as a sedan. It has a 106.3-inch long wheelbase with an overall length of just shy of 183 inches long. This is definitely longer than most of its rivals, and it gives this car a more grown-up look and feel. And I think that's what gives it, again, a sportier, more upscale design. I also love these new wheels for an extra $785, I believe. These are a black finished 18-inch wheel. It's a gloss black design with a 5-spoke look. It's riding on a 215 by 45 R18 tire. You have an 11-inch disc in the front, I think a 10.5-inch disc at the rear. If you guys go for the base S trim, you'll have a drum brake. All Sentras now come with a 4-wheel independent suspension. So you have an independent front and a new independent rear, which was introduced, of course, on this new generation. Nissan says you have just under 5 inches of ground clearance, in case you're wondering. I also love the side sill extension that you get with the SR. Again, you get the integrated turn signals right here, which are black painted. There's also a full 360 camera because my tester has a premium package that rolls that in. You can see the A pillar here is blacked out. You have a standard size sunroof. That is part, again, of the premium package. Nissan does not offer a pano roof, which you typically don't find in this segment. I'm surprised to see there is some chrome along the window trim here, but it's kind of a darker finish chrome. And then looking at it from this angle here, the Sentra really does look like it begs for an SER trim or an SR turbo trim, just something sportier, because this car really does have some handsome lines. This, to me, looks a lot better versus the Toyota Corolla or the Subaru Impreza, which technically that only comes as a hatch, but this looks better than the Jetta and the Civic. It also looks more aggressive to me, and I prefer this looks over the Mazda 3 sedan even. Now, looking at the rear, you can see the rear design is the typical Nissan design language here. It kind of gives off, again, baby Altima vibes. The SR includes this rear deck lid spoiler. You've got the new Nissan logo there. It almost looks like it illuminates, but it doesn't. You have the new Nissan or SR badge over here. And then you can see the taillights are an all incandescent design. So you have incandescent brake lights, incandescent turn signals, incandescent reverse lights. Was really hoping that Nissan would put some LED combination lights. They don't even do that on the Altima, which is frustrating. The SR also includes a more aggressive looking rear bumper diffuser with this chrome outlet single exhaust, along with some integrated parking sensors. The camera for the backup camera is mounted right under there where it usually is. And then you have your third brake light over there in the rear glass. Now, opening up the trunk, you can see the Sentra for a sedan. It actually has a pretty decent sized trunk. It measures 14.3 cubic feet. You can see there are hinges that do impede on the cargo area, so be careful of that when you guys are loading this thing up to the rim. You can see the seats do fold down in a 60/40 manner. There's a carpeted floor mat here, and then if you look underneath the floor here, you can see Nissan thankfully includes a temporary spare tire, so you don't have to deal with a fix-a-flat kit. So on the outside of the revised Sentra, you can see Nissan made pretty minimal changes, and the changes are going to be even more minimal when we look inside the interior. But before we get inside of this vehicle, let's go ahead and take a look at the key fob. You can see for 2024, Nissan has given the Sentra their newer designed key fob, which is a nice evolution of the old fob, which was in dire need of a replacement. I like the size of it. I like the feel. I like the look with the Nissan logo. This is, of course, their intelligent access key. It's standard on the SV trims and up, so you have your usual buttons for lock, unlock, remote open the trunk, panic, and you also have remote start from the fob just by pushing the lock and then push and holding the remote start button at the same time in sequence, and that will start the vehicle up for you. Now, I suspect if you have access to your smartphone and the Nissan Connect app, you should also be able to start this vehicle up from your smartphone as well. Now, as I approach the vehicle's door, you can see the door handle is a traditional look. It has a button on the outside of the door handle. You push that button to lock the door. If you want to unlock it, there's no sensor on the back of the handle. You have to touch the button again. That unlocks the door for you. Nissan does not offer an auto walk-away lock or unlock feature, sadly. So that's something that I was hoping the company would eventually add. But you can see, I hope you guys like a black interior, because if you guys want this SR trim, it only comes with either a black cloth or this upgraded black Primatex, which is a fake leather material. They did add some more orange contrast stitching and piping along some of the seat materials. You can see it definitely reminds you a little bit more of something like the Nissan Frontier and the Altima, which also got the same kind of upgrade. The Primatex, I will say, feels really soft, comfortable, and supportive. It actually feels like real leather. You have a 6-way power adjustable driver's seat. No memory function, but that power seat is included with the premium package, as are 3-stage heated seats and a heated steering wheel. So that is part of that package. Nissan does not offer cooled seats, but that is kind of a rare find in this segment. You can see the door panel material has this really nice plush, soft touch injection molded plastic. You have more of that nice Primatex with the contrasting orange stitching. Nice and soft padded over here where your elbow would rest. You have a plastic trim which tries to look like a textured carbon fiber. You have silver accented door handles, which also have a nice high quality feel. The driver's window is the only one that's one touch up down. Was hoping that Nissan would include that for the passenger window. All the other windows are power, but they don't have that one touch feature. There's no power folding mirrors. And then with the premium package, you also get an 8-speaker Bose stereo, which sounds pretty decent. I'd highly recommend it if you guys are an audiophile. Now, stepping inside the interior, you can see it has that typical low sedan step-in height. And as I get in and shut the door actually has a nice solid sounding thunk, so that really surprised me. It adds to that impression of quality. It sounds much better than the last new Corolla that I tested a couple of weeks ago. Now, starting the vehicle up, you can see start-stop button is located right here by the shifter. And this is not a hybrid or a mild hybrid, so it has a very traditional starter noise. The SV and up trims have this upgraded instrument panel with a 7-inch digital cluster with the mixture of the analog speedo and tachometer, which looks nice. They also do a nice little sweep. And then you also get an upgraded 8-inch touchscreen display with Nissan Connect. It has Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, but sadly it is connected via a wired connection from a USB-C or a USB-A connector. You can see with the CarPlay connected, there's what it looks like. It has a pretty good high quality feel. The graphics are fine, nothing super groundbreaking. I was hoping that Nissan would upgrade this system here to the 12-inch display in the new Altima with wireless CarPlay and Android Auto, but as you can see, this is the biggest screen that you can get on the Sentra, but it is on the bigger side of the class. Nissan does not offer factory embedded GPS, but what I do like is, of course, the actual volume knob and the tuning knob, and most of you are just going to use the CarPlay function anyways when you're trying to look up a GPS function. Again, it's pretty easy to kind of switch back and forth between the different screens, push the menu button here to go back to the Nissan system, which again, it's fine. It's nothing super impressive, but it's not going to overwhelm you with tech, obviously. You can see the steering wheel also is very nice. It's got the new Nissan logo. Surprised to see there's no paddles on the wheel, especially on this SR trim. Love the flat bottom design. It has a manual tilt and telescoping arrangement with a very good amount of adjustability, so you can get pretty comfortable easily and find a good driving position. The horn, it sounds a little puny, but not as pathetic as the new Toyota Corolla, so that's something to keep in mind. No heads-up display, and then you can see the instrument panel hood here has a hard-touch plastic material. There's some more of that fake carbon fiber, but this upper portion here has that same soft-touch injection molded plastic with the faux orange stitching along the dash. So again, much more premium look than something like the Toyota Corolla. This center stack here kind of reminds me of the Kia Stinger with its triple dash vents, which are circular. Your hazard switches here, you have dual zone automatic temperature control in this trim, which is nice. You have actual hard buttons for the heated seat and the heated steering wheel, which again is nice. The buttons have a decent high quality tactile feel. You have your 2 USB ports here. Your auto start stop defeat button, which is new this year, is located right there. And then the shifter, you can see this controls the updated CVT. It has a very traditional look and feel to it with the PRNDL. There's also a hidden sport mode. If you guys put it into push this little button right here, it'll show an S next to the D. That's how you know you're in a sport mode. You put the vehicle in reverse, you can see there's your 360 camera with moving object detection, which is basically their cross-traffic braking. You can see the graphic isn't wonderful. You do have trajectory, and you'd also have front and rear parking sensors, which is nice, but Nissan really needs to update the graphics there for the camera, which would be nice. You can see some storage over here, cup holders over here. The center console also has some nice padded Prima text that goes along the side. You can see it provides a good knee rest there if you guys have longer legs, and it also just adds to the quality feel. It also feels pretty solid. There's nothing in here that really creaks or rattles. The construction is also very good. You can see there's a padded center console here. Open this up. It's actually pretty deep as well, so plenty of hidden storage there, which is nice. The seats, as I mentioned earlier, this is a fake leather, but it feels pretty comfortable and supportive. They also look really nice, but I would have liked to see Nissan maybe do like an SR badge here in the actual seat back, which again would brighten up the cabin. I really wish the company would also offer another color besides this black, but you can get a tan interior if you guys go with the SV with the quilted leather. They really need to offer that seat on the SR trim, I think. The glove compartment you can see is damped but not lined with felt. It's a bin style. It has a pretty good amount of space. The mirror here you can see is not auto dimming. It's a manual style. They don't offer a digital camera rear mirror, but I think they might offer that an auto dimming rear mirror as a dealer accessory. You can see there are some map lights in here, but they're not LED. They're just incandescent. You have a standard sunroof with a traditional shade. It also opens and tilts, which is nice. You have a sunglass holder here, which is also a nice little storage option. But overall, you can see the interior is pretty much unchanged. It looks more upscale than rivals. It feels roomy, has good visibility, but really I would have liked to see Nissan add wireless Apple CarPlay and the bigger 12-inch display from the Altima. But let's go ahead and hop into the back seat of this vehicle and show you guys the space. The Sentra is only offered as a sedan, so you can see when you open up the rear door, It opens up a fairly decent amount. There's just under 35 inches of legroom back here, around 34.7, which is class competitive. You can see material quality back here is hard touch plastic, so they did downgrade this port panel here versus the front seat, but thankfully you still have a nice padded Primatex coated area here with that fake carbon fiber look plastic, aluminum looking door handle trim. And then this seat, like I mentioned earlier, it does fold down to expand the cargo capacity. It doesn't recline anything like that. You don't typically find that in a sedan segment anyways. But getting back here, you can see the headroom. You do have to duck your head there for me at 5'7" because it slopes a little bit. But as I get in and shut the door has that same solid sounding thunk. And you can see this is where I'd have the seat to drive for my driving position. Good foot space. Decent legroom. I can get back here and cross my legs, but I'm only 5'7". I'm not the tallest person. No rear seat air vents. That's a hit or miss in this segment. You do have a USB-A charging dongle. There's one storage compartment there. And then if you look here, the headrests are not adjustable. You do have an armrest that folds down and gives you two cup holders here. And then in terms of the headroom space, if I lean back, you can see my hair gets close to the ceiling. So if you're over 6 feet tall, that sunroof does take up space. You will find the headroom a little bit lacking. But overall, the back seat is certainly usable for average size adults and kids. You could probably put a car seat back here. But again, if you want a bigger car, Nissan will happily sell you an Altima, which definitely will have more rear seat legroom. So here we are behind the wheel of the 2024 refreshed Nissan Sentra. It's been almost 3 years since I had a chance to drive this car. The last one that I drove looked like a base rental grade special on the outside because it was the SV, but the SV also has the really nice interior if you guys want that quilted leather seating. This SR trim is definitely the more sportier looking option, and it definitely looks a lot more impressive on the outside. The interior is also pretty comfortable as well. In terms of the powertrain, however, Nissan didn't make any changes to the engine. It's still a 2-liter naturally aspirated direct injection 4-cylinder, making almost 150 horsepower. It is paired with a new Xtronic CVT, which now includes a start-stop technology. I actually never have had a chance to 0 to 60 test this car. So to get the best 0 to 60 number, you have to put the transmission into its sport mode. We'll also turn off the start-stop function because we don't want that on when we do a 0 to 60 test. This car only comes with front-wheel drive. There is still no turbo or hybrid option, but there's rumors of a turbo coming possibly next year, although I really wish Nissan would have just included it for this new generation or for this refresh model. But let's go ahead and see what we can get here 0 to 60 wise. It's really slow. 8.2 seconds there, 0 to 60, which is not horrible. It's definitely not the quickest, but it did pretty well considering the fact that this is the only engine option in the car. The CVT will mimic shifts, which is a nice touch that it will do. And I didn't brake torque it because this car doesn't have any launch control. I'll try it again later on with a brake torque and see if we can if it improves it a little bit, but you guys heard it will mimic shifts. And the CVT in general, I don't hate it. Like, Nissan has been doing CVTs for a while now, and this one is very responsive. It provides the right ratio to basically put the engine in the meat of its power band. Let's try it here this time with brake torquing it and see if it makes a difference in terms of acceleration. Slightly minimal wheel spin, but when you brake torque it, it will hold the revs instead of shifting. 8.1 seconds there, so that's with it more going slightly uphill. So the first run we did was on more level surface without brake torquing it, and you can see with brake torquing it, it actually improved the time. So we'll try it one more time up ahead on a flat surface and see what we can get. But in the real world, you're probably going to be getting in that 8.2 to 8.5 second range, which pretty much matches the time that I got in a Toyota Corolla Hybrid. I had that vehicle about 2 weeks ago, and that electrified powertrain definitely gave you the additional torque this engine is kind of lacking. I mean, even the Corolla's base 2-liter makes 20 more horsepower than this, so it's kind of a shame that Nissan didn't upgrade the power in this car. I mean, for a 2-liter, by modern car standards, it's got a low power output. I mean, this amount of power, Nissan really, should have done something. I mean, the 1.5-liter turbo 3-cylinder from the new Nissan Rogue would do wonders for this car. That engine makes 200 horsepower on the Rogue, and it also makes, more torque, over 200 foot-pounds of torque, I believe, and that's really what's going to improve the acceleration of this car. Now, thankfully, with the new CVT, fuel economy has improved a good deal, and I'll talk about that toward the end of the driving seat. But even in terms of just normal everyday driving, put your foot down, it's responsive, and then it drops ratios and it puts the engine, in the torque band which requires you to rev the crap out of it. And that's where you do hear the noise of this engine. It's not a pleasant sounding engine. It's buzzy. It sounds thrashy a little bit. But if you don't rev it too much, it sounds okay. It's just to get any kind of acceleration out of this car, you do have to push the engine past 3,000, basically between 3 to 4,500. That's kind of like the mode where this car is going to feel relatively peppy around town, but then when you get on the highway, that's where the only 150 horsepower is going to play to that disadvantage, and only 146 pound-feet of torque. There's a reason why a lot of the competition is going to hybrid or electrification, going to turbocharging, because you just get that additional, you know, low-end torque, which is really needed. But let's try it here this time. We'll brake torque it, see what we can get. Spinning the wheels slightly, holding the revs, 6,000 RPM. Come on, car. 7.6 there, so there you go, guys. That's actually a pretty decent time. I'm actually really surprised by that time, because most magazine articles are saying this car takes like 8.5 seconds to 8.3 seconds, something like that. So 7.6 with brake torquing it. That new CVT, I think, has definitely improved the acceleration of this car. Without brake torquing, you guys saw it's about a half a second slower. So hey, I'm impressed. That is decent acceleration times, and you should keep pace with the 1.5 liter turbo in the Honda Civic. Of course, with their, you know, their turbo CVT option. This is about as quick as a 2.5 Impreza as well. So yes, for a base engine with the new transmission, I think Nissan has done a pretty good job just appealing to the everyday price conscientious buyer. But for the enthusiast, this is where Nissan is suffering, because the car's chassis feels pretty good. The steering is quick, doesn't provide much feedback, but the suspension is four-wheel independent when this new generation came out, and the car corners flatly. The tires just could use an upgrade with, you know, fatter tires, better brakes. An SR turbo version would be wonderful, or if Nissan would bring back an SER version of this car, that would also be fantastic. You know, just give us 200 horsepower, give us an SI competitor. You don't have to give us a Type R competitor or a GR Corolla competitor, but something like an SI competitor. All-wheel drive would also be nice. Nissan doesn't offer all-wheel drive. Some vehicles in this segment, like the Corolla, the Mazda 3, the Impreza, of course, offer all-wheel drive. So that's something where it's kind of limiting the appeal of the Sentra. This vehicle does come standard with Nissan Safety Shield 360, which means you have automatic emergency braking, lane departure alert. When you go for the SV trims and up, you do get adaptive cruise control, but it's not their pilot assist, where it gives you some hands-free capability on highways. This is just more of a rudimentary adaptive cruise, which it works fine. I had a chance to test it out. It works pretty much on par with like something like the, you know, Honda Civic, for example. However, something like the new Toyota Corolla with its Toyota Safety Sense 3.0 does work a little bit better, a little bit more high-tech. In terms of visibility, I can see out of the Sentra really well out of the front, the side, the rear. Surprised there's not a digital camera rearview mirror or auto-dimming rearview mirror on this car. But it's nice to see that this car has blind spot information, lane keep assist, all that stuff. The start-stop in this car, I also will say, it works pretty much acceptably, considering the fact that there is no 48-volt mild hybrid system. So when you come to a stop, the engine will shut itself off, and then when you lift off the brake, it takes a second. There's a smidge of a delay, which, again, can be super annoying. Let's see if it'll do it here. I'll just come to a stop. Nobody behind me, and the engine shuts off. So lift off the brake. It's about as fast as it can be, considering it doesn't have a start-stop system. Again, when I start accelerating at normal speeds, the CVT in the engine makes itself basically unknown. It's just, you know, smooth. It's linear for the most part. It just, you drive this car at a 610 pace, and you won't notice the fact that it feels a little sluggish, or the engine can be noisy. But put your foot down again, responsiveness that you get from the CVT. So big improvement with this new transmission. Nissan made the right decision there. In terms of fuel efficiency, I averaged just under 33 mpg in my mixed driving. On the highway, however, this thing will do close to 40. I got 39 mpg, which is fantastic. You'll do around just under 400 miles of range on regular gas. It has a very small 12-gallon fuel tank, so the range is good. The fuel economy is good, considering this is not a hybrid vehicle. It really shows the strength that Nissan has, again, with just designing a naturally aspirated internal combustion engine with a very well-programmed and well-sorted out CVT. So don't you know, dismiss the CVT just because you hear enthusiasts and other magazines complaining about CVTs. In everyday driving, you're not going to notice it. Sad there is no manual, but again, this is Nissan we're talking about here, they are, you know, in the process of completely redoing their lineup and their image. They're trying to improve their image as well. And to do a manual transmission in this car just wouldn't make sense. The take rate would be super low. But overall, I am still very pleasantly surprised with the Sentra. There are a couple of things that I think would make this thing even more appealing, a hybrid and a turbo engine for sure, but the base engine is very impressive, especially with the new transmission. It's comfortable, it's relatively quiet in here when you're not pushing the engine. The ride quality is also good, even though we're on these 18-inch wheels. I think for the most part, you're gonna get into this car, and especially if you're comparing it to a Corolla or Civic, and you're gonna be pleasantly surprised, again, with what Nissan has to offer with the latest Sentra. So with just shy of 110,000 units sold here in America in 2023, this is obviously not the best-selling compact car, but it still represents a pretty good chunk of sales. This car does lose out in terms of sales to something like the Civic and Corolla, which outsells it 2-to-1, but it does roughly the same amount of sales as the Hyundai Elantra, the Kia Forte. This outsells the Mazda 3, the Subaru Impreza, the Volkswagen Jetta. So clearly Nissan is still doing something right with the Sentra. And after spending some time with the revised 2024 version, clearly this car is not the sportiest or the quickest accelerating or offers the most tech, but if you're looking for an affordable commuter car that is easy to drive, easy to live with, gets good gas mileage, and doesn't break the bank, this definitely should make it to the very top of your list. As you guys saw, the new transmission has greatly improved the acceleration. 0 to 60 in 7.6 seconds when you brake torque it really surprised me. In most situations, you're going to be just breaking the 8-second mark, which I think is going to be fine for most people. I also averaged, again, around 33 mpg in mixed mostly city driving, which is also very impressive. The interior tech in this car, while it isn't, you know, again, groundbreaking, I really wish Nissan would have added wireless Apple CarPlay and Android Auto for 2024. The 8-inch touchscreen is about average for the segment. The instrument panel, I also like the combination of, you know, traditional dials with the 7-inch helper screen. The seats are comfortable. The back seat has a decent amount of space. The trunk also has a decent amount of space. This handles well. Really, for Nissan to kind of step the Sentra's game up and bring it closer to the class leaders, they really need to start offering more variety. I would like to see the 1.5-liter turbo engine from the Rogue put into this car in a more performance-oriented SER variant. I would like to see Nissan do a hybrid to, again, improve the fuel efficiency to that 50 mpg mark. That's where Toyota comes into play. Honda's also coming out with a new Civic hybrid later this summer. And really, if you guys are looking to put a Sentra in your driveway, this is where the car's more, you know, basic packaging and option structure comes into play, because this vehicle is slightly more affordable than some of its rivals. The base S version is going to start at just under 20,000 or 21,000 bucks, around 20,980. If you guys want the SV, which most of you are probably going to get because it includes things like the keyless push button start, the rear disc brakes, the upgraded screen, of course, that's going to start at around $22,000. The SR trim, like this one that I'm showing you here, starts at $23,090. So around $3,000 more than the base. That really makes the Sentra super affordable, especially if you guys are looking for a new car with that new car warranty, that new car smell, and it's also comfortable, easy to drive, gets good gas mileage. My tester here, however, with the options that it has, such as the black wheels, which are $800, the premium package is the priciest one at $2,500, but it includes the 360 camera, the Bose surround sound system, the sunroof, of course, the power driver's seat, the heated seats, and the heated steering wheel, and plus the Monarch orange color. The two-tone is like an extra $700. All in, my test car here comes into $29,320. So basically, just under $30,000. Definitely shows that the price of this car has increased over the years. I remember when I first tested this vehicle, a fully loaded version like this was around $25,000, $26,000. So obviously, it's gotten more expensive, but everything has. But I also just had a Corolla Hybrid SE that didn't have heated seats, that had cloth seats. That car was also just under $30,000. And I definitely think the Sentra is a better looking vehicle. It is quicker as well versus the Corolla Hybrid. But again, if you guys are looking for maximum fuel efficiency, that vehicle will get closer to 50 mpg versus the 33 that I was getting in this car. But again, there is still something to like about this vehicle. So I can easily say if you're looking for a compact car that doesn't break the bank, that also is really easy to drive, but also is stylish and premium feeling, you should definitely put the new Sentra at the very top of your list. But with all that said, hope you guys have enjoyed my full overview on the revised 2024 Nissan Sentra. If you're also looking to see the latest cars I'm testing, be sure to follow me on Instagram at Redline_reviews, like us on Facebook, and as always, guys, please keep subscribing to the Redline Reviews YouTube channel for all the latest reviews. Thank you so much for watching. I'll catch you all in the next video.